The Honey Passenger. Jennifer tossed the last bag into the trunk of her red Ford and got behind the wheel. Portland was just over 500 miles away, almost 10 hours on I-5. She planned to reach the city by evening, spend the night at a motel, and be ready for her interview in the morning. 2 years of waitressing in backwater Redding had finally worn her down. When her friend sent her a vacancy for an administrator position at a major Portland hotel, Jennifer didn't think twice before sending her resume. They called her the next day to schedule a meeting. The navigator showed 6:12 a.m. The sun was just beginning to rise above the horizon, painting the sky in soft pink hues. Jennifer turned on the radio and merged onto the highway. At this hour, the road was practically empty. An hour later, she stopped for gas. While the pump was running, she went into the store for coffee. At the counter stood a tall man in a plaid shirt and worn jeans. He was paying for a bottle of water and a chocolate bar. "Excuse me," he addressed Jennifer as she passed by. "You wouldn't happen to be heading toward Portland, would you?" The man had a pleasant voice and a welcoming smile. He looked about 40 with a neatly trimmed beard touched with gray and honest brown eyes. "My car broke down about a mile back," he explained. "The tow truck won't be here for 4 hours. I'm running late for an important meeting." Jennifer hesitated. Since childhood, she'd been taught never to pick up hitchhikers, but the man seemed completely harmless. Besides, there were cameras at the gas station and other people around. "I'm Mike," he introduced himself, extending his hand. "Mike Donovan. I'm a sales representative. I travel up and down the coast." "Jennifer," she replied, shaking his hand. "All right, I can give you a ride. I'm heading that way anyway." Mike turned out to be pleasant company. He shared amusing stories from his travels, asked about her life without being intrusive. Time on the road flew by. Around 10, they stopped at a roadside diner for breakfast. Mike insisted on paying for her meal, as thanks for the ride. "You know," he said, stirring his coffee, "I often think about my first job. I was young too, ambitious, wanted to conquer the world." He took out his phone and showed her a photo of an attractive woman with 2 teenage children. "My family. They live in Seattle. I only see them on weekends. But what can you do? Work is work." After breakfast, Jennifer felt slightly dizzy, probably from lack of sleep and coffee on an empty stomach. "Let me drive," Mike offered. "You look tired. You can catch some sleep." It made sense. Her eyes were really getting heavy. "Thanks," Jennifer smiled, handing him the keys. She reclined her seat and closed her eyes. The last thing she remembered was the car pulling out of the parking lot to the steady hum of the engine. Jennifer woke to silence. The engine was off. She struggled to open her eyes. Her head felt heavy, her mouth dry. They were parked on some deserted dirt road in the middle of the forest. Mike sat beside her, watching intently. His gaze had changed. There was nothing welcoming about it now. "Awake?" he asked casually. "I was starting to worry. The sedative usually doesn't last this long." Jennifer tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. "Don't waste your energy," Mike advised. "The drug will take a couple more hours to wear off." He pulled her phone from the glove compartment. "Modern technology can be such a nuisance, don't you think? GPS, cameras, social media. So many traces. Fortunately, I'm good with electronics." Jennifer tried to scream, but only a weak rasp escaped her throat. "Shh." Mike stroked her cheek. His touch made her shudder. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. You understand I can't let you go. You've seen too much. But I know this wonderful place in the mountains. It's very beautiful and peaceful. You'll like it." He started the engine. "By the way, I lied about the family. That photo, Just a picture from the internet. But you're not offended, are you? In our line of work, lies are necessary. The car started moving. Through the windshield, Jennifer watched the sun slowly rising above the treetops. A lone bird flew by in the distance. And yes, my name isn't Mike, he added, turning onto a narrow forest road. But that doesn't matter anymore. He turned on the radio. California Dreamin' flowed from the speakers. The car ventured deeper into the forest, leaving the last traces of civilization behind. Jennifer watched the trees passing by and thought about how her Ford would now become part of some crime chronicle. A red car, a missing girl, a mysterious passenger. Another story for the evening news. Maybe in a couple of months, mushroom pickers or hunters would find her. Or perhaps she'd become one of those missing persons whose photos hang for years on bulletin boards in police stations. The only thing she knew for certain, she wouldn't make it to her interview in Portland today, or tomorrow. The road ahead wound between trees, climbing higher into the mountains. Mike, or whatever his real name was, started whistling along with the music as if this were just an ordinary morning drive. How stupid, Jennifer thought. Just one wrong decision. She closed her eyes. The sun had risen high enough for its rays to pierce through the dense foliage. Somewhere in the trunk lay her bag with clothes, the printed resume, and her new dress for the interview. She thought about her apartment in Redding, the unfinished morning coffee, the old teddy bear left on the bed. Who would raise the alarm first? Her neighbor? Her friend? The hotel manager when she didn't show up for the meeting? The car turned onto an even narrower road. The forest grew thicker. "Almost there," said Mike. His voice carried the same calmness with which he'd told stories about his business trips just hours ago. Jennifer thought that somewhere, in a parallel universe, she was driving alone on I-5 right now, listening to the radio and dreaming about her new life in the big city. But here, in this reality, her story was coming to an end. And it wasn't the ending she'd dreamed of while packing for the move. The red Ford slowly climbed into the mountains, carrying its owner toward her final adventure.